This isn't the video I planned for this week. I had a meltdown that turned into a seizure, cross-panic attack. I'll get into that at the end. But this video is about why I gave up on my dream job. So let's get into it. What was my dream job? If you have been around here since the artistic author days, wow, I'm so sorry. If you're new, here's the story. I went into my most recent degree focusing as an English major and an art major with an education umbrella because I wanted to be an English and art high school teacher. Now, the problem with that is I realized I hate children. I like individual children, but as a conglomerate, I would rather set myself on fire. Yes, self-immolation is preferable to dealing with children. I did my first assessments where I was placed in a school. It was hell. I totally underestimated the amount of emotional energy it would cost me personally to be in that environment because I'm autistic and have ADHD and all those lovely things. Social situations are rough, and so being in a school made me realize just how low functioning I was in certain areas. I've talked about low functioning versus high functioning before and how it's a myth, and how even high functioning autistic people have many aspects of themselves that would be considered lower down on the spectrum. Like when we're super overwhelmed, we become nonverbal, and also labeling us as the ones worth helping completely demoralizes and dehumanizes autistic people on a different part of the spectrum. It's a whole thing. Basically, I realized that my dream job was a nightmare. There was a student who had a crush on me and I had to report it because I was then seen as male, and there's a whole thing about male teachers and young female students. So it was just I just felt overwhelmed, disgusted, very tired, realized that it wasn't a dream job, it was a nightmare, and decided to just pursue good old art school. And the reason this has really come up in my mind as to why, we had to do a questionnaire for one of my units last week that was basically asking us about our soft skills and our hard skills, our experience in the industries, if we've volunteered, what kind of connections we've made, basically trying to prepare us for the real world as an artist. And I really, really appreciate it, and I really, really love the advice and the help. The unit is called Professional Practice. I feel like every art school, every school in general should have stuff like this. My university is very well known for having really high rates of employment after graduation, which is really, really good, because as long as you're on a path, once you get a little bit of experience and you get some money in your pocket and some confidence, then you can go out into the rest of the world. So I was I feel confident enough to just do fine art and design, and I'm really enjoying it. I've learned a lot about the industry. I've really narrowed down on the fact that I want to work specifically in museums and galleries, and also in research and academia. So on my little one line that they gave me, my dream job now was basically gallery, museum worker / curator, art history lecturer, and academic writer. And in my own life, I'd love to do creative writing and art making as a practice. And the reason being a full-time fine artist is not my dream job is because that is something that I just enjoy, and I do not want the pressure of having it be my main source of income. That would force me into applying for group shows, solo exhibitions, residencies, different internships. It would strip away the joy I get from making stuff. But also, I don't want my dream job to be something that will exhaust me so much that I don't have the time or the energy or the money to work on the art I want to make. So working in a gallery, being a history lecturer, writing academia, that's all so many areas that I'm interested in, and they work well together. My lecturer is literally in that position right now herself. She's an art history lecturer, just a lecturer in general because she teaches drawing and some other things. She writes academic papers and she works in galleries, and they work well together. And it's not impractical to think of that as a dream job. We had a lecturer come in as a guest. She runs a small regional gallery in a part of New South Wales that I'm planning to move to someday. And she literally followed my dream job path. She went to Venice to the Biennale and loved it, and then went and volunteered, and then went and volunteered in New York, and then worked at the Art Gallery of New South Wales, and then ran Adelaide Perry Gallery, which I'm obsessed with. I applied for an internship there actually, and I was on the shortlist, and then COVID hit. So it was interesting that she remembered me, and I just felt so overwhelmed and passionate and excited to see that there was someone who was following that path, and it just made me super happy. Because this year I was supposed to be doing a library course, a library and museum kind of information technology research overarching kind of course, and it was a whole mess. It's a new diploma, and so they made a bit of a mess with it, and the enrollment and everything was really weird, so gave up on it. Decided to just go straight into this course that I'm finishing at uni. I'm doing a natural history illustration course. If you haven't noticed, my last video was basically detailing everything that I've been doing, and it's been really enjoyable. A lot of hard work because it's 6 weeks and it's like all crammed in together, but I'm really enjoying the work I'm making. Like, the process and the end result are beautiful, and it's not often you get to say that about art, because sometimes the process is really enjoyable but the final result is kind of or you don't really enjoy the process and then the work looks good and then you kind of have this resentment towards it. It can be quite chaotic, but I just really enjoy it. I'm having a good time with that. You know, I'm planning out my future steps. I'm trying not to panic too much. And it's just really nice to see how my dream job turned out to be a nightmare, and it kind of morphed into something else, because I loved working with kids. I loved creating experiences for them. I just hated being around them all the time. I loved teaching mini art classes. We did like some leaf prints, and then we did like some pop art type stuff, because I love doing that with my little brother as well. And it was just super enjoyable. But the whole experience of working with kids, and to be fair, I was in a primary school and I did want to move to a high school for my actual teaching, but just, you know, it kind of evolved like a really weird Pokemon, from this weird position being surrounded by children all the time, and teaching was not ideal. There were a lot of incidents at that primary school because it was a mostly white primary school. There were some racist incidents where I tried to stand up for kids, and I was like, that's not just bullying, like, oh, you're ugly. That child literally used a racial slur. There's a big difference between, you know, children being assholes and then literally a hate crime. And so it was really difficult to navigate that space, and I realized I couldn't fit into their system, and trying to reform it would not work. And it would take up so much of my energy, and I just realized I have to do something else, because I can't help anybody if I've completely fallen apart. I need to take care of myself, or I won't be able to take care of anybody else. I can't change the world if I can't even go out into the world, you know? So yeah, I'm really happy with my current dream job, and honestly, the experience I have, the things that I'm doing to kind of push myself forward to get there, all line up, all make sense. You know, COVID has been kind of a bumpy ride, so I feel like there's going to be a bit more leniency with like full-time experience and everything, hopefully. I'm just trying. So I'm just going to mention briefly about the seizure. I had a meltdown, which is something that autistic people have when we're overstimulated. Our brains just get so tired that they shut down. There were a lot of warning signs. I couldn't notice them, which is a common theme. Other people can, but everyone was quite busy. I was taking on much more than I could take on. And I ended up basically balling my hands into fists and hitting my head and crying and locking myself in my room and covering myself with a blanket, just trying to calm myself down. I did some grounding, that worked for a bit. And then I started problem solving instead of distracting myself, which is when it started to get worse again. And I lost all clarity, I couldn't breathe, and then I felt my eyes roll back. I started convulsing, frothing at the mouth because I couldn't breathe. And a couple others happened in between, like some moments of clarity. So it was quite intense. It's happened before, but only one seizure. Now it was multiple. I'm going in for an MRI. I talked to my therapist and my GP about it. We'll sort it all out. But in the meantime, I want to tone down my activities. And my motto for this year was just good enough. Anything worth doing is worth doing a crappy job of. So this is the video you're getting. A little bit of a backstory into my career as an artist. Hopefully this video was interesting. If you have any questions or just want to have some general art school discussion, or like how do you get experience, how can I volunteer, that kind of stuff, as usual, please leave a comment. I will reply. Absolutely will. Love talking to people in the comments. That's why I do this. Like, this is a very me, an audience type medium. YouTube is kind of built for that. So I very rarely leave comments on people's videos unless they like literally beg me to leave a comment. Even then I won't. And I'm trying to change that, because now being on this side of the camera, I'm just like, we crave human interaction. We crave knowing what people think about what we're saying. That's why we're doing it, you know? It's a group experience, and you guys aren't contributing to the group project. So, come on, contribute. Thank you for watching. Next week, the video I was planning will be up. It's pretty fun. At least I think it is. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.